how's it going, guys? Welcome back to my channel. So today we're going to be doing an updated controller and aim assist guide for Paladins players on console. So in the last recent patches we've had changes to all of the different values and rates in the settings, and we've also got new options for gamepad, keyboard and mouse, all those type of things. So this is a video I've been looking to make for a while now, and it's been heavily requested in my comments in some of my older videos. So anyway, let's get straight into it. So first of all, let's go straight into the options menu. I'll show you my preferences. Just before we get started, I just want to let you know that this is going to be a overall kind of broad settings for 90% of players. It's not going to work for everyone. If you're a pro player, you might have better sensitivity settings, or I guess once you replicate my settings, just make sure you go through with your own, try it out in practice mode and see what works best for you. So anyway, let's go straight into the gameplay tab. So I'm going to be doing a quick description of each of these options and why I chose to have it that way. So first of all, we got show game tips. So this show game tips is really for new players. If you're playing your first few matches or so, you might be interested in these tips that generally pop up on the screen. I like to have this disabled. Why? Because I'm a veteran player with hundreds of hours of gameplay. So moving on, we have damage numbers. That's always good to have on, regardless of how long you've been playing. So it's always good to see how much damage you're outputting. You'll also be able to see if you're doing damage on shields, that kind of stuff. So always have that on if you can. Combat log, you don't really need this one. I just disabled this. You'll always have the kill feed there, so you don't really need a combat log in my opinion. Always show player health. So this one's actually good. Usually when you see a player on the screen, you have to aim at them to see the health. If you're a healer or support, if you have this always enabled, you'll be able to see everyone in your team that's on your screen, so you'll know exactly who to heal without aiming at them. The next option is centered skill bar. So the centered skill bar, you have the option of having the skill bar, which is your cooldowns, on the bottom, in the middle, or on the right side. I choose to have mine on the center, which where it was originally, because this enables you to see your loadout on the right side and also the name of your loadout if you're interested in that. Show team UI, always have this enabled. So you have two options here. Basically, when you're in a siege match, if you have this disabled, you'll be able to see players spawning in and moving to the center of the screen one at a time. If you have this enabled, you'll be able to see everyone on both teams and see who's alive, who's coming in to spawn, and also you'll be able to see your team's ultimates, which will only be available if you have this option enabled. So show allied death markers. This will allow you to be able to see your teammates' death locations. You'll be able to see who exactly died and where, so it will kind of help strategize your plans and group up, I guess. So moving on, we've got heal feed. You can have this as either off, middle or bottom. So I don't know why you'd ever have this off. It's always helpful to know who's healing you. Auto purchase, this is a no-brainer really. You would never really want to have the computer or AI choose your items. You choose your items as you go, as you need them in battle. So always have this one disabled. Reticle bloom, these ones are actually optional, so these are all to do with your reticle, so I'm not going to really explain that. You can have a play around with those if you want. Toggle zoom, use profanity filter. Now this one, moving on to show cauterize on team health bar. This is really helpful if you're playing as a support. So for example, when you're healing a player, their health will either be green or a kind of tint of yellowish green. When they're tinted yellowish green, that means they're cauterized, so they're not going to get as much healing from you if you do begin healing them when they're cauterized. So you might want to wait until they go back to green before you do start healing again. Show card cooldowns. These ones have always been buggy on console, so I generally tend to have that disabled. They usually appear scrolling on the right hand side, but I don't believe that's been fixed. Do not disturb, I don't even know what that does. And public profile, I don't think that actually works, so whatever. Let's move on straight to the controls tab on the right. So here, this is going to be all the controller settings. Let's quickly go through. If you want, you can pause the video here and try and replicate mine if you don't want to listen, whatever. So scope sensitivity, we got 1.0. This is mainly for playing snipers, so you got Kinessa, Strix, things like that. Also, I think Victor and Vivian will also have scope sensitivity. So I just leave mine at 1. I generally find that's pretty good. I don't have any issues aiming as Victor or Vivian, and I rarely play snipers. If you're going to be one of those like flick snipers, doing flick shots and things like that, you might want to increase the sensitivity, but overall I don't really tend to move around in my scope. I usually scope out before I do my sniping. Inverted, this is a personal preference. If you want your aim's control settings to be inverted or not. I guess it's what you're used to in other games. I generally have mine disabled. Vibration, this is, I guess, to vibrate the controller, and then this is the vibration strength, so that's personal preference again. Now the X and Y axis. The X and Y axis used to have a rating of about up to 100, I think. They've changed this to a 10 rating now. In general, I just leave mine on 3. So I've experimented with changing these to 4 and 5, but I find it's kind of too high for sensitivity for a controller. I guess if you're a pro player, probably playing at something like 5 or so. We got the turn acceleration mode. So this is actually probably one of the most important things for you to change. So you have dynamic, classic, and precision. Dynamic is the one that's been actually the preference of Evil Mojo. They actually have this one as a new option, and it's the one that they suggest you use if you're a console player. It kind of makes your controls a lot more kind of like a standard first-person shooter like Call of Duty. And like if you play classic, I think the difference with classic is you get the acceleration when you aim. So first of all, when you aim to the left, you might be going slow at first and then speeding straight up. And precision is like really fast high aim, kind of like a mouse. So I guess for everyone, or for 95% of players, you're most likely going to be wanting to play with dynamic. Moving on, we have turn acceleration strength. So this comes down to personal preference. I try to keep mine low personally. Just it gives you more, I guess, control when you turn. Less acceleration, so you don't want to be like slow at first and move straight up in speed. That kind of goes with the classic style of the acceleration mode. We've also got the inner and outer dead zone. So this is going to be one of the major changes as well as your sensitivity. It's going to really affect your gameplay. I tend to have mine on small and medium. So what this does is dead zones are like the peaks of your control stick. So if you have this on the smallest, so minimum, that means when you move your control stick to the left, even the slightest little movement will make you go left. If you have it on small, it's going to need a little bit more to start beginning to go left. And if you go on large, it's just going to really feel sluggish, so I tend to keep mine on small. The same with the outer dead zones. So these are like the peaks, I guess you could say. If you push all the way to the outside of the control stick, it's going to need a lot more pressure to be able to do the movement. So small and medium is my preference. It's up to you what you guys choose, but that's my preference. We have these new control settings as well for the gyros. So this is really for, I guess, Switch players. I believe PS4 players can also use this, but why would you have this gyro controls enabled anyway? So I have this disabled, and axis sensitivity left at 5 because it's disabled. The last option is input method. Now for console players, Xbox can now use keyboard and mouse. PS4 players still only gamepad. Okay, so that's my settings at this point in time with all the new settings. I hope you guys found that useful. Now that you've copied my settings or made adjustments of your own, make sure you go into the training mode, shoot a few of the targets on the top floor, and really adjust your settings, because it's going to make a lot of difference to your gameplay and overall your game skills, I guess. So if you if you optimize your settings, it's gonna feel a lot better. If you play with the default Paladin settings, it's just straight out terrible. You're gonna be moving like a robot, aiming like a robot. If you play with optimized settings, you're gonna be like that pro Call of Duty player. It's gonna feel a lot more natural. Anyway, thanks guys for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I hope some of these tips are of some use to you. I'll be doing more of these type of guides in the future. Just let me know in the comments below if you have something in particular that you need help with, and I'll definitely try and make a video to help. Alright, see you guys next time.